podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
I recorded this on my For You page on TikTok earlier today.
WWE just put themselves into a corner now going up against college football in prime time. It's an impossible feat. By having their animosity towards AEW, they have just hurt themselves in the process. It's an unforced error on their part, and Tony Khan is none the wiser.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
This is episode 956 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. This is King of Podcasts here with you. Welcome to the program. kingofpodcasts.com is where you find everything on yours truly. So here's what we got this week. A lot to cover. The juvenile delusional fandom right now is probably talking about one of two things. Number one, tonight they're probably panning the continued residency of AEW at the 2300 Arena, the former AECW Arena in Philadelphia, and what they're doing on their programming there leading up to All Out in Toronto, coming up in 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks' time. And AJ Lee is now been officially announced to be returning and joining CM Punk in a mixed tag team match against against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch at Wrestlepalooza. And then the other announcements that came out today are that AEW, with their All Out pay-per-view, is going to be airing on HBO Max for the first time, because finally, after the start of the year, the announcement that was made with the new broadcast deal from Warner Bros. Discovery that AEW was going to be able to have their shows, their pay-per-views available on HBO Max. The program has been there on HBO Max since day one, January. But now, the pay-per-views are now made available on the platform, $39.99 to catch it on there, at an additional cost to the HBO Max subscription. So you got that there going on for you as well. And the fact that AEW has also chosen to move the scheduled bell time of their pay-per-view to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just like they did when they had to go and deal with NXT, Great American Bash, or excuse me, with a Saturday Night's Main Event back in July that was going up against All in Texas. And All in Texas ran at 3 o'clock, which is arguably their biggest show of the year. At 180,000 buys, looks like they did fine with me. Fine by me, it looks like, and by everybody else's estimations. And then, that's one thing for WWE to go and counter program in the middle of the summer, when all there is baseball. And there's no other sports that are really going to be countering up against anything else. Like, there's nothing else on television at that time anyway. But in September, it's a different story. We have just started college football season. Professional football starts tomorrow as I record. And I don't understand if WWE did not understand what they were getting themselves into, because we're seeing chess moves in real time by both of these companies. Tony Khan is basically playing defense by not engaging in the warfare that WWE wants them to play. They don't want to do it. Okay? This is like the movie War Games. Shall we play a game of chess? Well, that's what WWE wants to try to go and do. They're Joshua Falcon. They're trying to go and do it, okay? So now, right now, the moment is this. And I brought this up on my TikTok feed earlier today. Because what WWE doesn't realize, AEW is now able to go ahead and make the announcement for HBO Max. So the interest in wrestling on that day is going to be there. It's going to be pretty big. And by moving the pay-per-view to earlier in the afternoon, it's not even counter-programming away from the head-to-head competition that WWE is trying to get. But what the WWE just did to themselves is put themselves in a quandary. Because, yes, they're going to get this pay-per-view out, and I don't think they realize the ramifications of what they're doing with this pay-per-view outside of their own animosity towards AEW. What they don't realize they just did is that they have other competition to worry about, and they're not paying attention to that at all. Primetime college football. They're not paying attention to that at all. Now, in the current setup of college football, a lot of the national televised games, the times for those games have not been set because the networks will do that and determine that later on. But there are a number of games coming up in college football the week of September 20th. And I don't know if WWE really realizes what they put themselves into. So we can go through all that and explain what there is here, what the schedules look like. So there is a full slate of football games, but it's what's going to be on and what likely will be head-to-head with Wrestlepalooza. Because at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's probably going to be a good chance that there will be games at 3:30 for college football to catch coming up. But week 4 of college football, let's go into that real quick. Week 4 of college football season begins like this. So there are games scheduled to probably run at either 3:30 p.m. or 8 p.m. on Saturday. There's Ole Miss and Tulane, which is a great little SEC, rivalry against an American Conference team. You got Auburn at Oklahoma, which is a big SEC battle. That's going to get some good coverage somewhere. I don't know which channel will get it, but that's a big game. And I doubt it'll be a 3:30 p.m. Eastern game. I believe that game will probably be on primetime either CBS 3:30 or maybe the 8 o'clock slot. But I don't think CBS has a game on primetime that night. I don't know if they do. But there are 2 other games that are going to be going on at the same time. One of them is, there could be Purdue and Notre Dame. That's actually a 3:30 game. Gets a very national following, Notre Dame, just so you know. Then you have a couple other games later on the night. Oregon State at Oregon. It's a big rivalry game. That might be a primetime game. It might more likely be at 10 o'clock at night. West Coast game. Then you have number 5, University of Miami against Florida. Number 13. That game will probably be on ESPN or ABC, 8 o'clock Eastern. And that gets a great audience. And then the other game you're going to have at the same time, North Carolina against UCF, which is Bill Belichick's team. You're going to see how they're going to play against them. Michigan State at USC, also a big game. Could also be a primetime game or be 3:30, but most likely it will be 8 o'clock or later on at night. And these are all the games that are going to be going up against Wrestlepalooza in prime time. The other game they have to worry about, Texas Tech at Utah, also top 25 on the schedule. And more importantly, in Indiana itself, Illinois at Indiana, number 11 Illinois at number 23 Indiana. And that's a game that's going to be going on about an hour south of Indianapolis, where Wrestlepalooza is going on. And I'm pretty sure that Indiana is going to have a pretty packed house for that game that night. That's a big rivalry game as well. Now, just to give the context, since July, the Illinois-Indiana game has already been sold out. Wrestlepalooza, they still got 2,000 tickets left to go and sell as of last Friday. Still got to get that up. And meanwhile, their tickets over there, cheapest ticket available right now is standard admission, $130 in Indiana right now for that. That's a lot to ask for. But again, that's what the company's willing to go ahead and ask for altogether for tickets to an event like this. But they have, for ESPN itself, the chance of Illinois, Indiana being on ESPN. That could be a Fox game because it's Big Ten. We don't know yet. But that could be a CBS game. We don't know. But no matter what, 2-3 top-notch, high-caliber college football games are going to be prime time. If you want to have an idea of the audience that's going on and watching college football on a regular basis, you might not think that, there's a lot of wrestling fans in that group, but absolutely there are. Okay. Let me put it to you like this. The Sunday night viewing of Notre Dame Miami this past weekend, 10.8 million viewers in prime time. Alabama, Florida State, which was a Saturday afternoon kickoff, $10.7 million. $10 million for the Saturday night LSU Clemson game, which was on prime time on Saturday on ABC. TCU, North Carolina, 6 million viewers for Monday night. Just telling you. And then in the meantime, the biggest audience that came out for the 3:30 games was Virginia Tech, South Carolina at 5 million viewers for ESPN. All I'm telling you is, with everything that's being set up now, the WWE is just not thinking about the real bottom line of the fact that they're going to get hammered right now with all this football. This is what Collision deals with on a regular basis with AEW. And AEW still has to run Collision because it's required to do on Saturday nights. So they're going to have a live show. Are they even going to be able to push 300,000 viewers for that show? That's going to be really difficult. I can see where Collision drops below 200,000. So who's thinking about putting pay-per-views on at all these different hours? Are you crazy? That's the part you got to think about, is that we're going to have all this going on. And yet Collision's not going to run on Saturday night. That's right. September to Remember is going to run on Wednesday night. So a lot of time for Collision is going to run after Dynamite on Wednesday. So they're not even going to go ahead and Collision is preempted on Saturday. Smart. This is AEW actually thinking, man, they got to do this for themselves. They're going to get hemorrhaged if they try to go on Saturday night after the pay-per-view. So no pay-per-view on Saturday night, respectfully, because they got the pay-per-view to go ahead and deal with on HBO Max. So they're not going to go ahead and double up. Now, with that, Wrestlepalooza itself is left alone to a barrage of competition. And I don't think they really realize what the story is behind that. But this is an unforced error on their part. This is a mistake. I don't know what they were thinking about doing this part, but they did. And now, it's just the blindsided ignorance of this company to go ahead and start shooting themselves in the foot just for the effort of just trying to push their weight around to go after a company like AEW. For what? Listen, even SmackDown at its worst on Friday night this week, it's still double the audience that Dynamite is on a regular basis. So what are we worrying about? But obviously at TKO Group Holdings, AEW is still point of mind. You're treating them as competition to the point that you feel like you need to go and take them out. And this is to the detriment of your company. You're taking a hit right now as a result of this. Talk to me about this. What are they going to possibly do on Wrestlepalooza that's going to overshadow on social media what's going on in college football? You are not going to overshadow Hurricanes Gators on Saturday night or Auburn, Oklahoma. Even social media in the hyper local area of Indiana. Okay, the state of Indiana, they're not going to focus on Wrestlepalooza because they got Illinois, Indiana going on at the same time. Probably at prime time as well. Do you really think you're going to make that much of a difference? No one's considering this part, and I guarantee you plenty of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren have not even brought this up yet. Okay, they don't. Fine. Because they're more worried about AJ Lee coming in. We'll talk about her in a moment. Of course, there's a lot to be said. But let's go ahead and say what's more all about this. Now, in the same vein, Dave Meltzer actually put out on X saying that very much a smart play for All Out in Toronto to move at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Don't know if WWE has time to get an afternoon show set for NXT or Triple H in such a short period of time. Because we already know in past record before that WWE has not been, been known to be relentless in still trying to counter program, even if. So, yeah, with less than 2 weeks to go, could they try to book a show at the exact same time as All Out to still counter program? Because that's how petty this is. And the pettiness I've already talked about here across the board. Now, on a TikTok, if you want to talk about this, Obviously, I had quite a bit of AEW following that decided to go ahead and support me on the video. Glenn Flanagan writes, they would be foolish not to. It's not about being better or not. Don't give your audience the opportunity to have to decide. Make it simple for them. And that's what Tony did. Two other people said I said facts by what I said. And then Little Soy Thick says they're so scared. LMAO. Another one also moves AEW from overlapping with the CMLL show that night as well. So yeah, even their own partner they're trying to help out with. Good. On my YouTube feed, I got some commentary. Joe Schmo 8841 writes out and says that it's not hard to understand TKO wants to monopolize wrestling like they did with MMA and are trying to do with boxing. The way you describe the situation is as the WWE is doing this be petty, but it's so much bigger than that. I don't think TKO cares at all about the content of either company. They want to make their money to get out of the debt they put themselves in with buying WWE and then make WWE the only big wrestling company to keep milking it. It's not about wrestling, but only about the money. Well, to be clear, the debt that they accrued was from UFC when TKO bought UFC several years ago. There was $3 billion in debt that they acquired as part of it, kind of in a private equity kind of sector. Tom Robitaille, 5457, says, quote, TKO and WWE don't care about what you want. They just want money, and people keep buying it, so why should they try? Another person writes about when it comes to AJ Lee, I'm not surprised AJ Lee might be coming back because that's Triple H's booking style. It's just rinse and repeat. Bloodline stuff, hurt wrestler returns, or former AEW wrestler shows up. Vince Russo's calling it the next pop for Triple H, which is probably not that far removed as well. And then Nightmare Reeser writes, TKO, when I said TKO stands for TV domination, kicking out talent, and intimidating opposition, he writes TKO talent kicked out. Thank you. So there are some different perspectives on social media that I want to go and point out, which, you know, it's part of my enjoyment here. Like, I mean, I get to go and take some of the commentary and to just follow up on it because it is very polarizing, the sides of the argument that we get out there. So with some of the people I follow, or not so much follow, it's just either I have my following or For You sections of X, and, you know, the algorithm on X will kind of recommend things to you. So here's one of the things I got off of all this. One person wrote and said that he writes, conventional logic dictates that they should at least move the show up a few hours, but probably when it comes to this, where would the line be and where does it stop? You can't show WWE that you can be easily pushed around, moved off your scheduled nights. September 20th will be the most counter-aggressive programming that AEW has ever faced, but they've come out very well throughout this year against the passive-aggressive counter-programming. Most of those weekends resulted in the quality gaps in products being clearer than before, and AEW's buy rate still being very healthy. The point I'm making is that someone and some organization needs to be the one to stand up to WWE and not get bitched like the many before them the past 40 years. Stick to your slot, put on the best and most stacked show possible, and trust in your product. Assess the business afterwards and go from there. But don't get bullied by WWE. Your show's been better all year, no matter what the state media suggests. And your audience is loyal and aware of that. Lay down for what? Why give Nick Khan that blood in the water? Okay. There's a little bit, I don't agree with all that there, because I still think the move, for the sake of, don't even worry about WWE in this whole perspective. College football is still an issue going on anyway. And now you got a justification as to why you got to move it to 3 o'clock. And you've already done it before. And to be honest, I think AEW benefits from keeping it at that time slot going forward. If they're going to get the counter programming, then just keep moving it as you do. Okay? Because WWE will be happy to go ahead and move into the same day on a show that's scheduled, but they're not going to go ahead and be so petty, because it would be so blatantly obvious if they were to move their show from 8 o'clock and move it to 3 o'clock just to go head to head. That would be overkill, and that would be an obvious signal that the intimidation is going the other way. It's a weakness on WWE if they were ever to think of taking the show they've already put on and put it for 8 p.m. and then move it up to 3 p.m. They wouldn't have an excuse for that. It wouldn't be possible. And then someone else that this person responded to wrote, if Tony Khan is a smart businessman and truly cares about his show not being overshadowed, he should already be making plans to either move the show to an earlier time or push it to Sunday. He says that AEW does not currently have the stories or star power to outdraw what looks like a stack first WWE PLE on ESPN. Potential matches like John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, Stephanie McMahon versus Rhea Ripley, or maybe even Io Sky and Asuka for the women's world title. The mixed tag match with Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Becky Lynch and AJ Lee all involved. Jade Cargill in a rematch against Tiffany Stratton for the women's title. Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. Or 6 to 8 matches stacked on the level of SummerSlam or WrestleMania. You know what? They're not doing that kind of show. I don't expect that to happen. And how far have they gotten right now with the setup for pay-per-view coming up? Well, so far we got 2 matches already we know they're going to have. Io Sky versus Stephanie McMahon is scheduled for the vacant women's world title. That's already been scheduled and that's booked. And John Cena, is scheduled to wrestle. We don't know if that's going to be Brock Lesnar. We haven't seen anything come back from that either, so we don't know. We have no clue of that yet. But we also know that most likely that CM Punk and AJ Lee, the match with the mixed tag match we've been talking about now, that's probably going to get scheduled on SmackDown. Which, by the way, while WrestlePalooza has not been sold out yet, okay, it's going up against a sold-out college football game, Illinois, Indiana, just an hour down the street. And as for WWE, right, they're not worried so much about WrestlePalooza not being sold out yet. They're more concerned about getting Chicago sold out, which obviously whatever tickets that were left for Rosemont Horizon or the Allstate Arena in Rosemont for that show, of course, Chicago sold out. And the funny thing is, there's some commentary out there about how that SmackDown is going to do ratings-wise, and we'll talk about that in a moment too, but there's just more to it anyways. One other person writes, the official, yeah, it's over for All Out because they think the Vaquer Io Sky match for the women's world title is going to be the draw that will absolutely take people all out of watching All Out Toronto. Brian Alvarez, and I know Sean Ross Sapp has also reported the fact that AJ Lee will be returning after 10 years to be at WrestlePalooza to counter-program AEW's All Out pay-per-view. According to Brian Alvarez, he says that we can confirm that it's a mixed tag, CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. The return of AJ, Brock, and Usos teaming up. They're loading the show to try to destroy All Out, and we'll see if they can do it. But remember, they're not even running with each other head-to-head. That was talked about yesterday via Wrestling Observer Live. And then more sources reporting that it's a done deal that AJ Lee will return either this Friday on SmackDown or at the upcoming WrestlePalooza PLE on September 20th. And just to give the point about college football, SmackDown actually had a horrible rating because of the fact that it was the lowest regular scheduled episode besides July 4 shows. Yes, it was a show on 5-hour tape delay because it was in Paris. But going up against head-to-head against 3 college football games, yeah, did not do well. It really suffered as a result. We're not even talking about Monday Night Football yet, starting up against Netflix, because the Netflix era has not dealt with Monday Night Football before. And Monday Night Football, knowing that USA Network is not going to carry Monday Night Raw, the fact that people are going to be watching a network and cable, and they know that wrestling's not going to be on unless they go ahead and make the effort to go to Netflix, they're probably not going to go to Netflix because of the fact that we have football here. For America, the U.S. audience, Monday Night Football is going to destroy. 20 plus million viewers, no doubt about it. And there's nothing that Monday Night Raw is going to be able to go and do to counter program against that. Football is going to destroy them. It's just the fact of the matter is that for football, I mean, AEW is in a pretty good place for Dynamite because of the fact that it's not going up against any football competition because there's no football on Wednesday nights. Nothing significant anyway. Collision? Absolutely. They get destroyed. But for SmackDown and Raw, man, you're going up against college football because there will be Friday night games on Fox And there'll be other games going on as well that will be significant. And they have to go up against those games, no matter what. Now, another X feed that I also looked at here that I got something from was about the fact that early indicators with All Out and Full Gear approaching that both events are positioned to secure strong placement among AEW's top pay-per-views. Sales across streaming distributors are already pointing to robust demand. Newer events like World End and Dynasty have a limited history. Their average pay-per-view buys have been compared favorably to cornerstone shows like Double or Nothing and All Out. Yeah, AEW consistently does really well with their pay-per-views. There's obviously a loyal audience that will buy for those shows. And before we get into AJ Lee and the whole deal with that, and some of the commentary has been out there about that, I must make this point too, that there was a little bit back and forth talking about the experience of being a VIP package holder for various pay-per-view events. That for WWE and for AEW, it's two different stories. So one person online, Undisputed Capo, writes that a fan shared his experience at WWE Clash as a gold package holder, which was a $2,700 package. He entered the arena 45 minutes late, even with a priority pass. The gift he was receiving was a commemorative pin. There was a 2-hour superstar hospitality suite, which included a quick picture with Wyatt Six, Rusev, and B-Fab. Now, getting more into this here, this person paid $2,700 for 2 tickets, $1,350 each. 2 days before the event, got the entry ticket, which had a face value of $323 American. Prices went down a lot. So again, a pre-show hospitality with superstar appearances, all-inclusive food and drinks, and all-inclusive food and drinks during hospitality. A souvenir to be picked up at check-in, and dedicated priority pass entrance. So the so-called priority check-in was poorly managed. We ended up entering the arena 45 minutes late. It was finger food and drinks that were indeed unlimited and honestly pretty good quality. Priority pass, a lanyard and badge with the event logo. Souvenir was a Clash in Paris pin. And pre-show hospitality. Part left me a bit disappointed. Lasted 2 hours, but only about one of those hours did superstars come into the lounge. They stood in front of a photo wall. Everybody lined up just to take a quick picture. You get about 5 seconds before and after the photo with the stars. And it was Wyatt Six, Rusev, and B-Fab. And the seats they got were not even the best ones. It was also another thing that was considerably rough for that as well. Now, another person writes up, Travie, or TZ Gray 77, talked about his experience at All Elite Texas, decided to go ahead and put his own take. He got in at 9:45 a.m., got lanyards, crowd-free shopping, 15 to 20 minutes for a maximum wait, saw the stage before anybody else, and also seeing people practicing entrances, got a free AEW flag, free photo ops with 2 title belts, multiple meet and greets, and a Q&A. And we see pictures to go along with it. The lounge, Lexus Club at the Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Yeah, it looks pretty badass. I like it. See the wall where he was able to take pictures. He got pictures with Gates of Agony. And looks like there was also some sessions out there where they could also check out the All Elite experience. So they got to be a part of that too. Okay, good. And by the way, the price for that, $800. Just tells you everything you got to know about where we are right now in the current setup of wrestling. From a complete cash grab. Now, I can't remember the last time I even brought up AJ Lee on this program. I'm sure I did because it was, in the very early stages of this program, back in 2014, when she was around, right? So we haven't seen her since. But, part of the thing is, I got to say, is that with AJ Lee, yeah, there's the association, obviously, that's CM Punk's wife. She's been gone. She's been a mother. She's written a best-selling book. She's been doing fine. So we're going to see AJ Lee coming back. And this is not the, young woman that was out there before that we saw at 27 years old, prime of her career, we're going to see her looking much different, 38 years old. We don't even know if she's been training for this. We have no clue. So we don't know what's going to be going on with all this here. Vince Russo making comments. He says that WWE fans should not be so excited for AJ Lee's return because Triple H and his team will turn AJ into just another name in the women's division like Nikki Bella. He said on Legion of Raw on Monday night, quote, AJ Lee is going to fall into the Nikki Bella spot, which Nikki Bella has already fallen to another name on the roster. Yeah. Could very well be that. And then also somebody referring back to some of the commentary back in 2015 in February when AJ Lee and Stephanie McMahon actually had words back and forth with each other. Quote, to Stephanie McMahon, AJ says, and yet they receive a fraction of the wages and screen time of the majority of the male roster. Hashtag use your voice. Stephanie also writes to Stephanie, your female wrestlers have record-selling merchandise and have starred in the highest rated segment of the shows several times. Very active, very advocacy for her overall. Now we're going to take some commentary that's out there from someone who I will not name. I will not play the clips from said podcast, but I will take transcripts and I will read back what I have here from what's being said. So on X, he calls the fact that AEW is now going to be putting their show on HBO Max for the first time at a discounted rate of $39.99 for subscribers. He goes on to say that HBO Max basically is $9.99 per month with ads. Standard $16.99. A $10 discount makes no difference in the price of these shows, whether you watch them how you've already been, or if you watch them on HBO Max. If AEW wanted to be fan-friendly and really be an alternative, the price should have been $29.99. This is an unfortunate miss again for AEW. No, it's not. ESPN had the same kind of price for UFC fights, if I'm correct. You know, wrestling, even for AEW or even for WWE, if they wanted to, they could have kept the pricing up as they were. And they probably would still have a way to get some certain audience that would have made money on the gate on that. But obviously, they don't have to do that anymore because of the broadcast deals. But if TKO did not have those broadcast deals, I can assure you, they would go ahead and charge high ticket for pay-per-views. Because if that becomes the case 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, especially 5 years down the line, if the Netflix deal falters, they'll go find a pay-per-view partner and they will charge high ticket for pay-per-views. Just watch. That could very well happen. It could very well happen. The thing is, $39.99 is what they already charge right now across the board. The fact of the matter is that HBO now, you can actually watch all their pay-per-views and their regular programming all in one place. The pay-per-views, yeah, they're going to charge extra for the pay-per-views. What, 8-9 shows a year, $40 a month? Or every time they have a show, yeah, they're going to charge that much. It's not out of the scope of what they could charge and what they try to get. They also got to make money themselves. They don't have those super big broadcast deals like WWE does, right? So, of course, they're going to go ahead and make money on their pay-per-views. They have to build their business, to be able to pay for the contracts. Only makes sense for that. And so another person on X who takes a clip from a particular podcaster says WWE is cooking with this Becky Lynch AJ Lee tease. September 20th is going to be a massacre. Meanwhile, I want to make this point clear too. AJ Lee is now the focus of the women's division. Automatically. I don't think anybody's really talking so much about Stephanie McMahon and Io Sky coming up at WrestlePalooza. The woman that's going to be talking about at WrestlePalooza is AJ Lee, who we've not seen on television in 10 years plus. Who might not be doing that much wrestling. She's just going to be involved in the CM Punk Seth Rollins feud with Becky Lynch. That's it. Just to match things up. Meanwhile, Bobby Altoff has her podcast out there. She's talking to Drake, whom she had a bit of animosity with before, going back a few years. And there's a clip that went viral about Drake and his fascination over Rhea Ripley.
I am. I'm
just
just
trying. This
I'm
is
trying.
like actually.
Is it dragging?
No, I'm just. What are you doing?
I don't
over
have
there?
data. I'm trying to. You don't? Oh, it's on
Pull
SOS for me, so I couldn't.
I'm trying to pull up Tyga's Instagram. My FYP page is just all Rhea Ripley.
I don't know who that is.
She's a wrestler. She's like my muse, but
is she?
Yeah, but she's
what?
I'm the opposite of probably everything that she likes in life. I can't pull up. I can't.
Drake name dropping Rhea Ripley. Come on. And Rhea Ripley, by the way, does not have a match scheduled for Wrestlepalooza. It wouldn't be that hard to put her in. Like, why isn't she scheduled in the 3-way into that match for the women's world title? I'm just saying. Rhea Ripley you had her out there with LA Knight, doing things out there with the pay-per-view Clash in Paris, and there's a lot of things about it. I remember again, Rhea Ripley was getting swarmed and getting, basically molested in the streets of Paris by the fans that wanted to go see her. She is a worldwide favorite. And now WWE is also trying to do things to kind of normalize Rhea Ripley's look. As if she's not able to go and be my brutality kind of thing. No more of the chains and all that stuff. Something's going on with her trying to change that character. What are you trying to do with her? Why does she need to be changed? Just saying. Everything they've done with that character for Rhea Ripley after her and Dominic split up. Like, I hated the whole thing between her and Liv Morgan anyways. They could have done it much better. But Rhea Ripley should not be an afterthought right now. And don't tell me she's part of the whole mix. No, she's not really. She was on a Clash in Paris for a pay-per-view. She was on Raw or SmackDown, but come on. Pay-per-view? She's not been on. And why not? So, not on the pay-per-view for Clash in Paris. Last time we saw her on pay-per-view was the triple threat match for the women's world title on SummerSlam night 2. That's it. But she's not been a focus at all. Been in the backdrop as of late. I don't know why. So now into the situation about HBO Max and the All Out show. And CM Punk and AJ Lee being all tied in. Here's the one that this podcaster, he said a few things about this. First of all, the commentary about Becky Lynch. And let's just make the point clear about this, where he says this. The man or big time Bex or whatever you want to go ahead and call her, ever since Nia Jax punched her in the face, it's been incredibly forced. And for the first time in her career since the beginning stages of NXT, Becky Lynch actually feels genuine, and she's in a role that suits her now, being part of the vision. That's what he's saying. So now you get Becky Lynch involved with Seth Rollins, you get CM Punk out into the mix. You're going to get some great effing television out of it. Another criticism I see about it, it didn't work the first time. Why would WWE go back and do it now for a second time? And he explains it's Vince's problem. Whatever, okay. That Vince forced it upon us. But now everybody knows that Seth Rollins and CM Punk is the biggest feud right now in WWE. Really? The biggest feud? I guess. I don't know. Maybe. Now CM Punk is going to make it personal right back. How Rollins has made it personal. So he says that he doesn't really understand why people are upset that Becky Lynch has joined the division and how she's joining Seth Rollins on screen. So why not have them play off each other on screen on Raw to take what they're doing right now and make it better? He says that the segment with CM Punk and Becky Lynch, where Becky Lynch was flapping CM Punk in the face afterwards, was great. Downright fantastic, he says. And that Becky Lynch kind of overexerted herself. She always does. Did it get a little cringy at points? Sure, but the basis of it, the center of it all, was great. Another major tease. The fact that CM Punk asked Adam Pearce where SmackDown going to be. It's going to be in Chicago. He says, tremendous. And here's the commentary about Rhea Ripley, by the way. Come September 20th for Wrestlepalooza, it ends up being Bayley or everybody thinks it's Rhea Ripley. It could be Rhea, but if it's Rhea, why would you put Rhea in that spot? Ultimately, let everybody down. That Rhea Ripley would be a drop down if it's not AJ Lee. Okay. He says that WWE is an ace in their hole. They got an ace up in their sleeve, and it's April Mendez. That's who it is. It's nobody else. It should not be anybody else. It cannot be anybody else. And I don't want it to be anybody else. It's April Mendez. That's the end of it. Period. It just needs to be when she shows up, how she shows up, where she shows up. I don't know, SmackDown, just by the one line from CM Punk. But he says the segment was effing fantastic. And he's going to unveil his secret weapon, and there's no better place to do that than the Windy City. Okay. I don't get any of that part. But that's like the delusional fandom right now, because that's the voice to that juvenile delusional fandom, making the point of saying that this is like his way of saying where Becky Lynch is now in the best point of her career, being part of the vision, and then being this match here with AJ Lee being like the prodigal daughter coming back to the company after all this time. I mean, was there a real big clamoring for her to come back after all these years? I never really didn't think about that too much. I just honestly thought, well, okay, she's done. You know, she's a mom. She's an author. She's doing other things with her life. And even for CM Punk, we never know if it was going to come back either, but I don't know. This is all back again. And we don't know how much of this is the animosity with CM Punk now, given 2 years later that he's been out of AEW. And there's a lot about talk about that too. And this is the same podcaster saying the same thing as well when it comes to CM Punk, saying that he refers to CM Punk as a very wise man, once stating that AEW is a business not predicated on making money. He calls CM Punk AEW's biggest star, still to this day, their biggest draw and their biggest ratings draw since last April, referring to the security footage. This man's not working for their competition. He's working for a business that's making a boatload of money, including himself, and his wife is coming out of retirement for the first time in 10 plus years on one of the biggest shows that WWE will probably do all decade. Wrestlepalooza? The biggest all decade? You know, that all sounds like somebody's being bought and paid for right there by saying that. That's not genuine. And I don't believe it. That's bought and paid for. That's sponsored commentary. If it's not sponsored commentary, it should be. Because said person should be getting a paycheck for saying all that kind of stuff. It just sounds outlandish. It's like something that Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith would say something about, like, you know, in sports in general. A lot of bluster with no real context behind it. But anyways, hey, look, WWE fans are going to feel like that. They're going to follow along with this kind of commentary and think it's going to be great. He goes on to say that AEW could have had all this if they were actually serious about running a business and not some indie fed in a sandbox. Again, there are these fans out there, these podcasters, these other people in the juvenile delusional fandom that think that AEW needs to be a carbon copy of WWE or something similar to be the alternative that will satisfy what WWE doesn't do. Obviously, at this point, people are thinking that Triple H is doing great. Oh, it couldn't be doing better. They're defending the guy. Defending the guy to a hope. And you know what? I can keep pointing out mistakes that are being done right here at the behest. WWE doesn't have to get into this fight. They want to get into this fight. They've been doing this ever since day one. And it's not worked. And as for AEW, their mistakes are not at the behest of WWE, okay? WWE doesn't have anything to do with what AEW has done to hurt themselves. The mistakes of AEW have been their own, and only their own. It has nothing to do with what WWE has done to them, okay? Tony Khan is not Eric Bischoff, okay? People might want to go ahead and make him Eric Bischoff to have the same kind of mindset, but he's not. And Eric Bischoff totally doesn't want to be compared to Tony Khan in any way, shape, or form. And I agree with that. So he says his point is that everything about AEW and HBO Max. Fightful Select spoke to someone at AEW and said that the afternoon pay-per-view success of Forbidden Door helped contribute to the decision, was been discussed for weeks. By the way, All in Texas was also in the afternoon. So it doesn't matter the fact that Forbidden Door, like all that stuff is just speculation. Forbidden Door was in London. If they were going to have it available, it would only make sense for them to go ahead and run the show in London in prime time at 8 o'clock. And for us, just like we watch a show at Saudi Arabia or a show in Paris, to catch it at 3 o'clock. It was just normal. But remember, the counter programming of All in Texas contributed to this decision, not what Forbidden Door did. That's not true. And here's the bullying in full effect. Quote, instead of resting on your laurels and resting on your product and putting out a product that you're incredibly proud of and not giving a shit, you made the move anyway. And honestly, I'm happy as a content creator because now I get to watch at least 90% of All Out and then watch Wrestlepalooza. But in all seriousness, there's nothing that Tony Khan could have done in that move that would have made him look good. There would be a complaint no matter what. Why are you going head-to-head with WWE? No. It's the other way around. WWE wants to go head-to-head with AEW. That's what they're trying to do. Move the show to 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. in the early in the afternoon, and if he does, oh, you're a coward. That's projection, because he's saying that. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're scared. You don't trust your product, blah, blah, blah. There's legitimately nothing he was going to be able to do. So I'm looking at it selfishly that they're moving the show to 3 p.m. It gives me an opportunity now to watch. Okay. That's his way of putting it. He says then, if you are a sicko, you're not watching Wrestlepalooza, you don't give a shit about Brock Lesnar and John Cena, you don't care about AJ coming back to team with CM Punk against Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, which is the rumor right now. If you are a sicko, you're already planning to watch AEW, you're not watching Wrestlepalooza, so no matter where they go. This is what you get. If you are a sicko, you will remain a sicko. You're not going to be watching the Fed on Saturday afternoon. That's what most people are not going to really tell you and be upfront with. They say there that HBO Max will stream live AEW pay-per-views without ads and all marketing and promotions of AEW events primarily centered on HBO Max. Pre-orders will launch this Friday, and HBO Max subscribers with supported devices will purchase the events for $39.99. For all those people who thought you were already subscribed to Max, you were going to watch HBO and start streaming AEW pay-per-views on their streaming service, that would be free. You're shit out of luck, bro. It's not going to happen. It was announced that pay-per-view is going to be a premium anyway. That was already made clear in the announcement. I said that because the announcement said that. A lot of work around to kind of get to this point. Then he goes on to the press release for the new HBO Max deal now with the pay-per-views and saying that ChatGPT wrote the press release. Anyways, he goes on to say that you're probably asking yourself, it should be free. Why isn't it free? And he says the reason it's not free is because AEW makes $0 domestically. You want the upfront honest truth. AEW does not make any money domestically. The only money they make is seemingly when they go international. They make money and sell out arenas left and right internationally, but those people are starved for pro wrestling content that comes from the U.S. anyway. You could put shit on a fucking plate and put it in the middle of the ring, and they consider it a 5-star banger. Wow. That is some real gaslighting right there. Gaslighting, projection, and someone that, as I said, personal animus, but this is being accepted as gospel by the juvenile delusional fandom out there. He's not the only one. He's just probably the loudest. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's accurate either. And I got to play this real quickly as well from Dave Meltzer, because they were talking about Clash in Paris and the fact that they had the Wyatt Six and the Street Profits out there. Street Profits, remember, NXT, they were darlings over there. And a great presence coming out of NXT, moving up to the main roster. But look where they've been right now. And Dave Meltzer kind of puts it all in perspective.
The Street Profits, everything about them has been botched.
Nobody cares.
They put him with Lashley. That didn't work. They turned him heel. That didn't work. They turned him face. Then they turned him heel.
Well, now they're going to split up.
Now they're going to split up, which
they actually teased years ago and didn't do.
Yeah, that was when Montez Ford was super hot and everybody thought he was going to be this great single superstar. And look, they're both really talented guys. I suppose you could do that with either of them. I think Dawkins, it's going to be really tough for him on his own, even though he's really good. He's big, he's agile, and all that. Ford is does excellent things in the ring. They could do something with him. I've known people who thought he was, future world champion 4 years ago, and nobody's been saying that lately.
But what tag team in WWE has really gone that far and really done anything besides the Usos, who's already been around for 10 plus years? That's the other part. And what are they doing right now? They're trying to put them back together. It's what the plan is going to be. So now comparing what we have going on for Wrestlepalooza, we haven't talked about what All Out is supposed to be coming up in a couple weeks as well. What is it that All Out is being set up for that people feel like, could be really good coming up? Well, here's what we got. So far, Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. 3 matches are scheduled so far. It's Cope and Cage versus FTR in a tag team match. The Hurt Syndicate will take on Ricochet and Gates of Agony in a trios match. And now we just learned that Mercedes Moné will take on Riho for the AEW TBS Championship. So nothing was really big set up so far for either of these shows. We don't know what they're going to do. And we don't know if they're going to be putting a lot of real big push across all the board anyway. We don't know yet. But the idea of deciding to go ahead and go on this night, which is already tough anyway in September right now to go ahead and do this, at least in America for pay-per-view, for Toronto, I don't think that market is going to be necessarily caring about NFL football. I mean, there are probably some people that are Buffalo Bill fans, whatever, but that's on Sundays. That's not Saturday. So who knows what they're going to be doing? But when it's all said and done, I mean, WWE is going to be struggling on their own. And no one's really talking about that part. Keep this in mind as I close this out tonight. I'm talking about this because, as always, of course I have my criticisms about AEW. And of course I have criticisms plenty about WWE in the current direction. And that's fine. Okay. And I could justify the fact of how they're making money and how they're doing things. Okay. But what I have the biggest problem about is that now this bullying, this competition, they're trying to go ahead and try to foster out of all this. In terms of handling their competition like they're lightweights and trying to push them around. But they really are not thinking about the bottom line, about what they're hurting and doing to hurt themselves. You're putting out another show to get another big gate out of it. And you're hoping that, that you're going to pull something off of this. Like, okay, the cash cow is going to continue with a good gate no matter what. But are you going to get a whole lot of press about this show as well? I mean, think about it. You're going up against college football. Just not a good look. In the middle of football season, it's going to be a tough sell to do that on a Saturday night. Like, there are certain things that are already changing around as we speak. Look, even though the Peacock deal has changed, things have worked around, and in the positive sense, yes, they moved to ESPN. But in the Peacock deal that's currently in place, okay, Peacock might be losing the pay-per-views. And they could have said, well, with the Saturday Night's Main Event specials, they thought that would be important, put them on NBC. They're not. Partly because of the fact that they're going to worry more about, well, they're not going to be worried about it. It's just, the thing is, WWE is just not thinking of the ramifications about all this. So they'll make their money on tickets. But at what point is this counter programming going to go awry? It's going to. It's going to bite them. And they don't realize that. It would just be better off if they would just leave AEW alone. Like, seriously, just leave them alone. They are not competition to you. They are not a factor to you. And because you let the fan base, this juvenile delusional fan base, get your company riled up, and you have to go ahead and answer to them. You have to go ahead and get these big pops for all these different things going on with either AJ Lee or somebody else coming in just to get something of interest, to get some buzz. Doesn't make a difference. The product, after 5 years, it has to be more than just pops. And the pay-per-views, you can't be just programming just a program. The bullying is enough. Come back for another Wrestling Real podcast because wrestling needs us.